Hi there, and welcome to my channel, which I am still calling Work in Progress, and probably will always call it that in introducing the channel. And at some point, I won't have to introduce the channel. Hoping that this channel results in people like you and me, everyday people, sharing our stories of our life's journey. And the purpose of this would be to help one another, because I strongly believe in sharing these stories. We each can get certain insights or look at ways to work with our own situation, get inspired, whatever it is. I feel we all get something when we hear each other's stories. Like, when you're gathered around a campfire with a group and the stories start to happen, there's like this amazing energy that takes place, and oftentimes really amazing insights that happen. So that is still and always has been, at least for this time, my hope for this channel. So if you happen to be listening right now and that inspires you as well, then my contact information is right below this video. Just contact me and let's have a conversation about how we can do this. Alrighty. So today, I want to talk about what a lot of people struggle with, and that is, how do you distinguish or tell the difference between the intuitive, instinctive voice in the head and all the other voices in the head? Yes, we all have voices in our head, okay? It's normal. However, they're all different. Now, the different voices are they're oftentimes the louder voice. They're the ego voice, and the ego takes on certain personalities, but it's always in judgment. It's always in fear, basically. It is always kind of taking us on a journey through stories. It's also a storyteller, but not a good one, in that it wants to keep our attention, and it's the loudest voice in our head, for sure. So oftentimes it's the voice we're listening to, and the intuitive, instinctive voice, which is also, by the way, the voice of our guides, gets ground out. Like, it's vague and we hardly hear it, right? So how do we reverse that situation, or how do we begin to at least get clear on what voices we're listening to, right? Well, it's a practice, what I found. And it also involves actually listening to a lot of these different voices, the ego voices. What is the ego saying? And then really listening and deciding, is this where I want to put my focus? Is this where I want to listen to and build a bigger story of why I shouldn't do this, or why that person is wrong, or why this shouldn't be happening, and all the negatives. Well, how do I put that aside and listen and hear my intuitive voice, the instinctive voice, the one that really comes from our guides? Well, it isn't going to be by drowning out the ego voice. That won't work. In fact, the more that we try to run away or get that voice to be quiet, the louder it becomes. So it's not about trying to resist it or control it. We can't. It's more about just a very simple focus of where our attention is. That's it. So by allowing, it's like a 2-year-old, allow that ego voice to be out there, wah, 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 whatever it's doing, but keep the focus on that instinctive and intuitive voice. Now, one way to definitely know if you are keeping your attention on that voice is it's always very direct and very clear, It doesn't mess around. It doesn't even give us a bunch of stories. It really doesn't. It's like very clear, like turn right, turn left, do this, don't do this, breathe, Just wait. It's like that. Just wait for a while. Don't try to fix this. You're doing fine. Everything's okay the way it is. It's that kind of messaging that comes from the intuitive voice, that type of messaging, I could say. And oftentimes it is very direct about a particular issue you are having. Most of us, I think today, at least that's what I hear, most of us are pretty overwhelmed with the energy that's going on right now for humans, especially those of us that are on the spiritual path. The energy is tough right now. It really is. There's a overwhelming kind of feeling that most of us or many of us have, and I happen to be one of those people. And this morning when I woke up, I was dreaming some kind of weird, kind of not scary, just a weird dream that, you know, as soon as I woke up, it started to fade, but little pieces of it stayed. And I was very aware when I woke up, and within just moments, really, it felt like, I started to feel this overwhelming emotion or feeling coming up in my body. You know, it's always there. It's underlying. It's not in my face, so to speak, but it's just in a very subtle way, this overwhelming feeling for no particular reason. In other words, I can't really pinpoint it, but it's just there. And in this kind of just waking up, you know what that feels like when you're just coming out of the sleep. So the mind didn't really have a chance to start too much of its situation or conclusion or all that it wanted to tell me. So there was kind of a little bit of space. And in my mind, I was saying, what is this? Why? What is this that's going on with this underlying feeling of overwhelm? And I get it, that there's a lot going on, and a lot of also is going on for some of us, and I'm in that category as well, lucky me, is a lot of baggage, a lot of baggage that we've carried with us for a long time, but not really completely dealt with, of certain emotions and certain beliefs and certain circumstances that we've grown up with. They're starting to come to the forefront because they really need to be released. It's definitely not serving us. So that's part of the overwhelm. The other part is just, like I said, the energy. But anyway, as I got into this kind of almost a meditative place, I guess I could say, and I'm asking, and when I'm asking my guides, what is going on with this and how do I deal with it? And in a very short time, this download, I call it, came through that basically said, quit resisting the overriding feelings. Stop resisting them and start accepting them, allowing them. Do not decide that they're wrong. You know, it's kind of like, you know, what happens when you get these downloads is it comes in certain ways of, how do I want to say, of hearing them. And so you interpret, or at least I think that's what most of us do. We kind of interpret what the message is. And so when I'm speaking this, it's not the exact way it comes through, but we have to, in order to put language to what the communication was about, we have to find those words. So for me, it was like, allow this overwhelm to be. Just be with it. It's fine. There is nothing wrong with being overwhelmed. It's just part of life. Nothing wrong with it. Allow it. Be with it. Don't resist it. When you feel like running away from it, just be with it. It's just an old belief that says you shouldn't feel overwhelmed. But it's part of life. It's part of what's going on right now. And that the more that you can just be with it, allow it, not resist it, not run away from it, but just be with it, the more comfortable, at least eventually, I should say, the more comfortable you'll be with it. It will become part of who you are. So what happens is, and this more downloads came throughout the day, was where we get stuck and we hear these voices, and believe me, a lot of it, most of the voices are ego driven, loud, very judgmental, down, putting us down, scaring us with the future, what if, oh my God, no, this shouldn't happen. It's drama and trauma. So that's the ego. But if our attention is pointed there, if that where our focus is, then we're absolutely going to get involved and become definitely part of that story, and we'll enhance the story even more. And pretty soon, on top of feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling pretty crazy, right? And part of that is because I'm trying to resist or run away from this overwhelmed feeling, I get focused on this other crap from the ego. Now, the ego also doesn't like the feeling of overwhelm. It's very frightening, and the ego is always wanting to protect us, but it isn't in us. It's protecting it. Remember, it's an entity that we made up, that it's our make-believe friend, if you will. Not really a friend, but it feels that way, right? It's also not our enemy. That's something I need to say. Do not make the ego the enemy, because that creates a whole other problem. But as we begin to have this conflict, let's call it, going on in our heads, we can become more frustrated, more confused, more available to the insanity rather than the peace. So when I heard that this morning and really got in touch with letting and being with the overwhelm and releasing the idea or the belief that something's wrong with being overwhelmed, things started to really calm down. And I felt more balanced, and I felt more in alignment. And I wasn't hearing all the ego stuff like I was. It was going on. It doesn't stop. But I wasn't in touch with it so much. I wasn't focused on it. And little by little, gradually, I began to feel I was okay to be overwhelmed. And that's just part of what's going on right now. And I started to get that every time we're in this resistance to whatever it is that's going on for us, which we don't like the feel of, and that's not our preference, and for sure I get that. I believe that as well. But as soon as we can really get in touch with it, like I did today, I get that every time I'm resisting something, every time I have a story, judgment, or a belief around something, like overwhelm is not good, overwhelm feels terrible, overwhelm, there's nothing good about overwhelm. That's the story, right? But when I can begin to soften that and release that and start to look at it from a different point of view, like, what's wrong with being overwhelmed? It's just, it's a judgment. It's a beliefs that I heard that somewhere down the road, we all heard, and it's okay. It's perfectly okay to feel overwhelmed. It's just part of what's going on. Now, what happened today, and this is where we talk about how do we distinguish between our intuitive, instinctive voice or communication, I like to call it a communication in a way. How do we distinguish between that and those other voices? Because those other voices always are so much louder. Well, it's kind of being able to get in a quiet place, like this morning when I'm coming out of this sleep, I'm in a more quiet place, and I'm not as scattered. And so when I heard this coming down about there's nothing wrong with being overwhelmed, it's okay, it's just part of what's going on, I could really hear that communication. And not just hear it, but allow it. Really get, you know what? Oh, I don't have to fight this. Okay, this is normal. Wow, this is normal. I have a little side story I'll tell you about this when you can think something is normal. At least this is what happened for me. Many, many, many years ago, my husband and I were started hiking in kind of the mountain areas, not major high mountains, but anyway, a beautiful kind of park area, or not a park, what would I forget what you call those areas where they have the trails. And I was really challenged with it. I'd never really done much hiking, or probably hadn't done any really. But I was, I liked to work out and so forth, so I was in good physical condition, but I just hadn't hiked. And in this particular hike that we were on, it kind of goes up fairly quickly. And so I was finding myself getting really out of breath, and I didn't like that. I thought, well, why am I feeling this? What's going on? And so I was kind of resisting wanting to do this hike. But we kept going back for several times, but each time I'd go back, I was hating that part where we'd start to climb, and I'd get real short of breath, and I thought, this isn't right, or something's not okay with this. Well, anyway, I invited a friend at one point, shortly after we'd started this hike, to come with us on a weekend and do the hike, and she said great. She was a very outdoorsy person, so she came with us. And when we started this hike and we started to go up and we're talking, and I said to her, this is the part I hate. I get all out of breath. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like I really have trouble as we start to climb. And she said, well, no, it's normal. This is normal what happens. It's fine. Nothing's wrong with what you're getting out of breath. And she's out of breath and we're trying to talk. And when she said it's normal, it's like, boom. I never thought about it again. Never. It was like that's all I needed to hear. It was, this is normal. I didn't think it was normal because I didn't know. So I thought, oh, something's wrong, or this is what hiking's about. I don't think it's good, yada, yada. So there it is, something normal. But my mind, my way of thinking, evidently my belief system, was saying it wasn't good. Something was wrong. But no, it was normal. Oh, it's normal. Everybody feels this. Oh, okay. Boom, gone. You see? So with this whole thing about feeling overwhelmed, now there's a process I know I'm going to go through. It's not going to be an overnight deal because it's a little more involved. But now I know I'm on the path, right? To saying, oh, it's okay to be overwhelmed. Really what it's saying is whatever we're feeling, whatever is going on is perfectly okay, or we wouldn't be feeling it. It's perfectly okay because that is part of what is going on with life right now. And all the other chatter, if you want to call it that, or yakking with the ego side of things, is just that. It's storytelling. It's like the 3-year-old or the 2-year-old having a temper tantrum out there, or just yada yada yada. That's what it is. That's just going on out there. It's the background, just the background. That's it, and that's okay too. That's it. That's okay. So as we begin to make things okay, not a problem, not wrong, but normal, then we have a shot at being able to really begin to work with these particular situations or issues. And then we can really begin to completely tune in to our instinctive side, into the guidance from our guides, because they're always, always communicating to us. And when they communicate to us, it's typically is through the intuitive side of us, the instinct that we have of what's true for us. So all these years, even though I had that experience on the mountain about it being normal, I never put together that anything that's coming up is normal, or it wouldn't be coming up. Now, yes, we can take it to a different extreme and say, well, wait a minute, what if you're having chest pains in your heart and you're really suffering? Is that normal? No, that are you having a heart attack? Well, who knows? But it is a signal. Again, it's okay, because it's letting you know something. All right. So again, it's not being in resistance. Obviously, that's a fearful experience to have. So I'm not saying don't get fearful, because I don't know if we can do that, not to get fearful, but we could lower the anxiety by realizing, okay, this is normal for something that's happening right now. But those are the, once in a while maybe, and hopefully never, happenings that's letting you know something's going on in your body that needs to be attended to. But I'm not speaking to that part right now, right? I'm speaking to that it could come up, but it's also part of what's just going on. So part of this whole process of really getting in touch with the truth of who we are and really feeling the flow of life is to really have these different experiences. And so I don't know for how long now I've been having this overwhelmed feelings. I mean, throughout the years, of course, they come, they go, they come, they go. But this one has been here for a long time. I've described it like if you're ill or not badly ill, but you have a low-grade fever, you just don't feel right. You're not super sick. You don't have to go to bed, but you're also not right. You're just not. You're normal. Interesting. Your normal self. But so that's where we decide, oh, I don't like this, I want to resist it. So that's what this overwhelming experience, overwhelming emotions have been causing me, just this discomfort, and I wanted to get rid of them or figure out, well, why am I having this? And okay, I can understand that right now, with the energies in the world and what we're all going through, many of us, if not most of us, if not maybe all of us, are overwhelmed. We're feeling overwhelmed. It's just too much, so much going on out there that it's impossible to really process it in a way that isn't overwhelming. But now to turn the tables and say, it's normal. Right now, it's normal. It's what's going on. It's perfectly normal. We don't have to fight it. Allow it. It's in the thinking it's not okay that we get into resistance and we decide that we have to kind of, gather our army and start to fight this situation, whatever the situation even is, right? But once we can make it normal, then it's a non-issue. Just like on that mountain, that very day. When my friend said, oh, it's normal to feel out of breath in this type of hike. It's perfectly normal. Boom. Gone. Nothing changed as far as my physical feeling. I was still out of breath. So nothing shifted that way, but it was a shift in attitude, a shift in a way to look at something. It wasn't forced. It was made sense. Oh, normal. So when we can get to that place where it's not like trying to force ourselves to see this as normal, if somebody said this is normal, I better force myself to see it as normal, because if we're coming from that mindset, that energy level, that space, ain't going to happen, right? It's just going to make it harder, really, make it worse. But when I got that download and I got that quietness that happened to be just because I was coming out of sleep, and I could really hear my instinctive voice, so to speak, or my guides saying it's just normal to feel overwhelmed right now because it's just what's going on. Nothing to resist, nothing to fight. Amazing, you know? When these things happen for me, it's like, whoa. It blows my mind. It really does, because it's like so simple, yet so hard has felt like in the past. And I look back and I go, look how much I have been in resistance forever about feeling overwhelmed. And look at all the stuff out there that wants to sell you a program about if you're feeling overwhelmed with your finances, then come here and we'll help you out. If you're feeling overwhelmed with this or that or whatever it is, there's an answer to stop feeling overwhelmed, because overwhelmed is not a good thing to feel. That's the messaging, right? But on a whole other level, when you really get, nothing's wrong with feeling overwhelmed, it's just normal, what's happening right now. It shifts the whole mindset, you know? Physically, it literally shifts it. It stops that churning. For me, overwhelm, when I have felt, has been like a churning in my gut. Very uncomfortable. And then the mind goes, it has to fix it or has to get rid of it or whatever. And now, right now, as I'm speaking about it, I just don't have any energy around it. None. Now, I'm sure I'm going to bounce in and out, flip-flop, because that's usually how we process something. But I'm on the other side of it. I can see it. I'm on the other side of this right now. So here's what I would encourage. I had been asking more than once, trust me. I've lost track of the times that I've asked my higher self, my guides, what do I know? But I've asked, how do I fix, or what do I do with this overwhelmed feeling? You know, I wanted to change it, and the truth is I wasn't getting anything about it. You know, sometimes I think in my automatic writing I got, just stay with it, or this too shall pass, but because that's all I could hear then. But this morning when I'm waking up, it was the opportunity for my guides to say, I think we can do this, let's help her this way. And it's perfectly normal. Nothing's wrong with feeling overwhelmed. Just struck a chord in me. I was ready to hear it. So I invite you to start to look at whatever it is that's maybe churning in you. You know, it may be a certain situation that's going on. Maybe at the bottom line you feel overwhelmed, or maybe you're feeling fear or anxiety around something. I mean, fear is at the base of all this stuff. It really is. And particularly if you're feeling like I want to run away from whatever it is, or I want to, or you feel yourself resisting when this comes up, then that could be a time to just stop and stop and see if you could take breaths, and if the idea of this is fine, nothing's wrong with this, it's just what's going on right now, it's perfectly normal. Or at least put that out there in the universe, put it out somewhere out there to say, you know, how can I embrace this? And because it's going to have to come for you in a particular way that you will be able to take it in and grasp it and then begin to process it. So, you know, mine came to me in this particular way, which was perfect for me. And like I just told the story about the mountain, you know, that was a time I remember a lot. Lots of times I remember that because it was so simple, so very simple. And you know, the more we hiked and tried harder hikes, longer hikes, I could remember that even though it was hard and it was hot and it was whatever it was, I would feel more just challenged by it, not something's wrong. So it really allowed me to have a really positive hiking experiences, particularly in this area that just had these great trails going on. So I think maybe this can help some of you. I think the biggest thing to take away from this is, first of all, that we all have these voices in our head, and we always have our instinct on. And I strongly believe how this works. Our instincts is there is our guides. Well, however that works for you. Guides. I seem to have a group of them that are always speaking to us, always communicating to us is really the word. It's not exactly speaking to us, but communicating to us through all kinds of different situations and ways. And whatever it is, though, it's always, that's how we get our instincts, our intuitive, don't do this, do that type thing. And I have that a lot that goes on in many, many different ways. So it's not just this moment of feeling a lot of overwhelm. I do get communication on other things as well. And I usually can pretty much distinguish between that communication and the ego stuff. What can more happen is I'm just sometimes not hearing, not in alignment, more focused on the ego crap, and so I'm even though it's being communicated, I happen to be not hearing it. But we all, every one of us, have that communication going on, meaning of our instinct, intuitive ways, and some of us have maybe been able to tune in a little better than others, but each one of us has that and can absolutely, without a doubt, tune in to that communication. So whatever your situation is now, whatever you're going through that you want to resist or run away from, try to start to see that it's normal, it's perfectly okay, it's just what's happening right now. So try to put that out there, that idea. It's not that you can force feed yourself this idea and it's going to happen. It's kind of an awareness of what's going on. What are you churning with every day or most days? Because it can be anywhere and everything, right? So and the main thing is to have curiosity about it. Really, have curiosity about what is going on, yes, and also be honest. I want to run away from this feeling. I'm resisting it, I can't stand it, what do I do to get rid of it? Notice all that as well. So that it can all come up and be seen, and whatever that particular thing is for you, eventually will show itself in a way that you can get it. I truly believe that because it's happened to me for so many, many, many times, and it just happened right today. And I've been struggling with this whole thing about being overwhelmed for a long, long time. I mean, I don't know, probably since COVID happened. And, I'm one that does do the automatic writing, communicates with my guides, but I just haven't been in a place to really get it. And so we have to be in a place where we can align with an idea. So today was my day. Maybe tomorrow can be yours. But give it a shot, or at least a thought, Even as we begin to bring something into our awareness, little by little, whatever that is, and at times it may not even look directly related to whatever it is going on with you, but it probably is, because it's a stepping stone from your guides to get you to where you want to be. So that is definitely what I wanted to share with you guys today, and certainly hope this helps somebody, and I hope it makes sense, because when it's our own experience, it's kind of hard sometimes to know how this is going to land for someone, but maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be, right? That it will land on whoever needs to hear this, and if it doesn't make sense, then it's not the right message for you today. And so that's okay too, right? But my goal is always hoping that that what I share makes sense and that it helps someone. So this is going to be, I don't know, is this a shorter video? No, I just looked. I thought maybe I did a shorter video. I tend to go on with these, don't I? But anyway, I think that is my complete message today. I would like to ask you to click like if you like the video, and also to subscribe to my channel. Comment if you could. You know, maybe you've had an experience like this and you could share that. Or better yet, if you want to have a conversation with me, we do it on Zoom, about maybe something you've been involved in like this, or something you've learned and you're willing to share it with others to help others, then that would be awesome. So just connect with me with that link below the video that shows the connection to me, and I will respond to you very quickly, and let's see if we can get that going as well. Love to hear from you. Like I said, even a comment would be great, because that's another way to start a thread. So maybe that should be the first step, I don't know, of somebody making a comment and seeing when others might want to speak to that comment. So, you know, we have all kinds of ways that we can communicate. But in the meantime, I keep very motivated for some reason, inspired, I don't know, to keep coming on this channel and finding these different ways to talk. And the truth is, it's really serving me very well, because oftentimes, especially like even today, sharing this, what happened this morning, when I start to speak about it and I tell it as a story, because that's kind of what it is, like a story, I begin to really see it even more clearly, and begin to feel it more clearly. So every time I'm speaking about something, because really mostly, well, everything that I speak about is something that I'm going through or something that I've gone through, because that's the only way I can speak about something. I don't, you know, I don't have the experience of something that I've never had happen to me. So it's always coming from an inner place. So I hope that makes sense. Okie dokie, until next time, be kind to yourself. Again, man, this is something I'm working on, really be kind to myself. I think the other day in a video I did on acceptance, you know, how do we accept what is? It dawned on me that until we accept ourselves, then how are we supposed to accept anything else, right? So that really struck me as well. So I'm really working on being kind to myself, because it's always easier to be kind to others for me, and maybe for you too. But I'll repeat it anyway, because I think it's important. So be kind to yourself. And until next time, I'm going to click off. And if you've been watching me, you know I have this little clicker. And for some reason, I think it's something in my mind that when I first click it, it won't click off. So I have to do sometimes 2 clicks or more. And so I'm hoping that I get to this place where I just say, I'm going to click off now, and boom, it'll click off. So let's see what happens today.